Hey guys, very late boy here and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to do some catch-up reviews on some albums that I didn't get a chance to review. I've been listening for the past couple months that I haven't uploaded, and we start off with Sharon Van Etten, Remind Me Tomorrow. This album was one of the first releases of the year and one of the first albums I listened to this year. On this album she goes a bit all over the place stylistically, but this album is very solid. The song 17 is definitely one of the highlights on this album, 7 out of 10. Next up, Malibu Ken, their self-titled album. The group Malibu Ken consists of rapper A$AP Rock and producer Tobacco. This is the first album this year that I thought was like really good. It's just full of fun rap, fun bars. A$AP Rock has been underrated for a long time now, but I really recommend checking out some of his solo albums. The instrumentals on this album are really fun and unique. They really complement A$AP Rock's voice. Corn Maze is one of my favourite songs of the year. The album is really straightforward and really fun, 8 out of 10. Boogie, Everything's for Sale. Boogie is a rapper who recently signed with Eminem and Interscope. On this album he shows really great potential as a pretty good rapper. He goes over a range of different topics on this album, like women in his life and the street life. This album is really one note. It's really all the same sort of instrumentals. There's not a lot going on. One of the highlights on this album though is Soho with Jid. They both have one verse each and they both kill it. Then follows up with a very generic Skydive. Overall he shows great potential on this album, but he needs to expand on this sound. 6 out of 10. Oh, and Eminem had one of the worst verses of the year. Shoo Shoo, Girl with a Basket of Fruit. This is another great album from this year. It's an avant-garde album that's really unique and a challenge to listen to. Every track feels like a different challenge, and in the span of only 9 songs, Shoo Shoo deliver the most gut-wrenching and harrowing album to date. Every song is so chaotic, it makes you feel really uneasy with a person yelling in the background in most of the songs. The album was a real experience to listen to, and I really recommend this album. 9 out of 10. Lil Pump, Harvard Dropout. I actually meant to review this album with its own video, but school and laziness got in the way. This album I feel was a bit of a step back from his last project. On this album he has a cleaner and less gritty sounds than on his self-titled mixtape. I really prefer him on those dirty beats like on the songs Boss from his mixtape. This album also gives us some good features like Lil Wayne and Smoke Perp's feature. Overall it's a decent album, but it feels a bit too clean for Lil Pump's voice. Solange, When I Get Home. This album is pretty up and down for me. It has some pretty great songs like Stay Flow and Almeida, but most of the album is pretty forgettable. Don't get me wrong, Solange is a very talented singer. Her last album, A Seat at the Table, was amazing and one of the best albums of 2016. This album just lacks those memorable songs. She also lacks expression in her voice throughout the album. And as mentioned before, the song Almeida is one of my favourite songs of the year. It also has a feature from Playboi Carti that I actually really like. He mostly does ad-libs in the background, but his voice is really great for the song. Overall, it's a pretty good collection of songs, but it's let down from inexpressive singing. 7 out of 10. Weezer, self-titled Black Album. Now in shocking news, Weezer continues their nosedive. His album is so generic and uninspired. This album is pop rock in the worst way. It's boring and Rivers Cuomo sounds really uninspired. But the highlights of this album come with the first 2 tracks, Can't Knock the Hustle and Zombie Bastards. Zombie Bastards in particular is my favourite. They go over a simple guitar riff and the song really sounds great. But there are more downs than ups on this album. 3 out of 10. Stella Donnelly, Beware of the Dogs. Stella Donnelly is a fellow Aussie, so she might get some Aussie bias from me, but nevertheless, this album is really great. It's an indie rock and pop album that showcases her great songwriting and voice. She goes over so many different topics and she executes these concepts to almost perfection. Her voice over this whole album is so soothing and smooth. She mostly goes over an acoustic guitar riff instrumental, but her voice complements her style. The song Mosquito is just amazing to me. Although it's very simple, she executes it well. I really recommend this album and they're representing Australia in a great way. 8 out of 10. Matmos, Plastic Anniversary. This new Matmos album is it really is really good. On the last Matmos album, they actually used sounds from just washing machines to make their songs. Now on this album, they used plastics and things made out of it to create the amazing instrumentals. It's crazy how they can manipulate these sounds into music and instrumentals. They use like They use this, and I put it into a song. All the songs on this album are so fun and unique. The album is really something special. 9 out of 10. Yves Jarvis, the same but by different means. This album is such a great mixture of soul and folk. It's like a mix of 70s Stevie Wonder, Frank Ocean and Elliott Smith, and it bleeds through multiple different styles. He makes very catchy songs and the intricate instrumentals really blow my mind. From the piano ballads to the acoustic guitar piece and the whirling vocals, there isn't much bad to say about this album. Yves Jarvis is a pretty unknown artist, but I really do recommend this album. 8 out of 10. Little Simz, Grey Area. Little Simz is a female rapper from the UK, and this album is really amazing. She shows her diversity in this album through some jazz rap and neo-soul songs. No matter what type of instrumental she has, she still keeps her aggression and her grit in her voice from start to end. My favourite track in the album, and one of my favourites of the year, Venom, is about her bitterness with the music industry and how they treat women in it. One bar that really stands out is, "They would never want to admit I'm the best here from the mere facts that I've got ovaries." It sounds better with her voice, obviously. Also, her flow all over this album is just so smooth and so fast. 9 out of 10. The Comet is coming. Trust in the life force of the deep mystery. Who said jazz is dead? Well, if it is, then this album may have just revived it. It's a great jazz fusion album, and it fuses jazz with hip hop and electronic music. The album is filled with some catchy melodies, like on the song Birth of Creation. Really, on the album, there's only 3 instrumentals being used at the bass, but the incredible use of it really helps create a larger-than-life atmosphere. It's a really great album from a genre that's supposedly dead. 9 out of 10. Flume. Hi, this is Flume mixtape. Flume is an electronic artist, and this album really feels like a step up from his last album, Skins. It feels that with this mixtape, he is experimenting with his sound more. There are multiple hip-hop inspired songs like High Beams, which features Slow Tie, and How to Build a Relationship, which features JPEG Mafia. And the song with JPEG Mafia in particular is really one of my favourite songs of the year. It's just so amazing. JPEG Mafia killed this track with his aggressive voice, and the production behind it is so perfectly built for him. Sophie, another electronic artist, which I mentioned in my top 50 albums of 2018 video, also has a great appearance on this album in the song Voices. In that track, Sophie and Flume flex their production muscles with a beautifully built track. Overall, it's a pretty good album, but there are many forgettable songs on this. 7.5 out of 10. Avey Tare, Cows on Hourglass Pond. Avey Tare is best known for his work with the legendary psychedelic group Animal Collective, but with the group's latest releases, I didn't really anticipate another album, but Avey Tare definitely proved me wrong. His voice is mostly put in a sort of wobbly effect, and the production is very airy. He expands his sounds from Animal Collective, and he takes from folk and injects it with psychedelic effects while he's tackling tough subject matter. The first song, What's the Good Side, Avey introduces the theme of the album, exploring and questioning life and his relationships. I've really missed this level of writing from him, and I hope that this can carry into some new Animal Collective. 8 out of 10. Oh god. Logic Supermarket. Listen, I know that this album is supposed to be a soundtrack for a book he made, but that's no excuse for this being beyond awful. There isn't anything good I can say about this album. He goes in a different direction, making a more pop and indie folk album, and it really doesn't work at all. It's like making his own speeding bullet to heaven. In the earlier part of his career, I could really see real potential from him. He was a pretty good rapper. He had a nice flow, and he had over these old school instrumental beats from his mixtapes. But lately, he's really let some of his fan bases down with his more pop inspired sounds. And also, all of the rapping on this album is some of the worst of his career. All of the tracks on this soundtrack, he's crooning over women in his life, and it's just so cringy. The nosedive from Logic continues with this album. 0 out of 10. Billie Eilish, When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? I think everyone knows Billie Eilish by now. She's a huge singer, and this album really shows off her creativity and her musical talent. She uses very minimalistic instrumentals that are mostly darker and have a dark tone, but she mostly uses a softer voice. She's more quieter, and it really mixes well with the production. I also love the singles from the album, like When the Party's Over and Bury a Friend. The album is definitely a step up from her 2017 mixtape. 8 out of 10. Show Me the Body, Dog Whistle. This album really amazed me when I first listened to it. The album is constantly in your face with disgusting beats and unique vocals from the band's lead vocalist, Julian Pratt. The production is really bass heavy and has an abundance of distorted sounds. The album isn't without lyricism too. The songs are mostly about feeling that your relationships with others are pointless because you don't know what they think of you. The album is packed with some of the best noise and punk rock I've heard in a while. In the punk moments of this record, the vocals are straining and distorted, but when they slow down into noise rock, it's so intense and so terrifying. My only gripe with this album is that the songs were too short and didn't have a chance to flesh out the full ideas, but other than that, it's a really great album. Show Me the Body really avoids their sophomore slump with Dog Whistle. 9 out of 10. Billy Woods and Kenny Segal, Hiding Places. Billy Woods teams up with Kenny Segal to create the best rap album of the year so far. The chemistry between the two helps with the greatness of this album. Kenny's great atmospheric beats and Billy's weird and unconventional flows really makes this album what it is. The lyrics are very socially aware and about the state of the world today. Overall, this is the best rap album of the year so far, hands down, and there are only a few minor gripes. 9 out of 10. Weyes Blood, Titanic Rising. Don't you just love when the cover of an album fits the tone of it? Well, that's the case for this album. The watery but vibrant cover depicts the sound of the album, and the title describes the lyrical content of it, finding beauty in tragedy. The instrumentals are usually kept pretty simple, but the way the instruments are orchestrated and the passion that they're played with, it really gives a larger-than-life feeling. The second track on the album, Andromeda, is my favourite on the album, one of my favourite songs of the year. It really sets the tone for the album as it's so spacey and her vocals are so chilling and beautiful. The only gripe I have with this album is that her vocals may become a little uninteresting and dull at times, but other than that, it's a bloody great album. 8.5 out of 10. And finally, Anderson .Paak, Ventura. The third album from California singer/rapper Anderson .Paak really shows improvements on all fronts. His last album, Oxnard, was more G-Funk inspired and showed off some of his great rapping skills. And Ventura modernizes the old school R&B sound. The album starts off with a great soulful track, Come Home. And the last verse in the from Andre 3000 is something special. Anderson .Paak's voice somehow improves on this album and he uses different techniques, sometimes using a breathier voice like on the second track, Make It Better, which features another legend in Smokey Robinson. The album has many features from great names like Brandy, Lala Hathaway, and Nate Dogg. The downfall on Ventura though is that some of the songs feel a little drawn out, like on Reaching Too Much. But overall, it's a really great album and his best effort so far. 8.5 out of 10. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Sorry for not uploading a lot of reviews. There's been school and, a lot of homework and shit. I just had to do that first. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I'll see you later.